Good afternoon, guys. It's Darren from Jace Media, and in the chair today, we're crossing to LA to chat with Mr. Fabrizio Grossi. How are you, Fabrizio?
I'm okay, thank you. How's it going there?
It's great, thanks. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you this afternoon. Um, I, uh,
Likewise.
I I reviewed the album, and I was blown away with
Oh, thank you. Thank
all
you
the
so
different,
much.
yeah, all the each song had a different vibe. You went from reggae to blues to jazz to soul, and it was just like a little surprise box. You just every song you're like, wow, I like that. And but obviously what I do is I do all of my research for the album. So I do all of my research, I write all of my stuff, and then I put on the side like stand out, stand out, stand out, stand out, stand out, favorite, favorite. So it was one of those ones where you were just like, wow, that's incredible. It's just a real, and the addition of the diamond and bet was just incredible. It was just fantastic. So
Thank you.
um, I hope that when it lands, because the good thing for reviewers, I'm getting to hear that now, and it's not out until September. So I think when everybody hears it, they're just going to be blown away.
I hope so.
Was it
Well,
was it a fun record to make, Fab?
it was a let's just call it. It was a labor of love, of course, because it's been going on for a long time. A lot of stuff, a lot of music was there for years. Some other things, some other songs where I will say a choice that I had to make on the material that I was putting together for the new Supersonic Blues Machine record. Because with that band, as soon as we finish one record, we start the other one.
Yeah.
That's the way it's been, right? And I've been just putting down demos and ideas since we released basically California Soul. Then Chris Barras joined us, and we did our live record and all of that. And there were a lot of material that was getting compiled. But to be honest with you, it started to sound to me a little bit too much Supersonic Fab's Machine more than Supersonic Blues Machine.
Yeah.
Meaning the route that with the band that we took on with California Soul was heading towards what it's very comfortable for me.
Yeah.
But not necessarily for no. I mean, it's like music that everybody likes, but in terms of like now we have a new voice and a new guitar in the band.
Yeah.
And I think, to be honest with you, I think it was it would have been fair for Chris to do his thing over something that was a little bit more like of a playing field, meaning the band is always the same, and everything it's like blues inspired. But with him, I guess we have the British contingency of blues rock. I mean, he's more influenced by the likes of Gary Moore, Rory Gallagher, and those kind of artists that you guys, are, I'm sure you're proud to, to name among the citizen of the great country of yours. While from, on my hand, it was getting, closer and closer to black music, which has always been my favor. And before we probably had a reason to do that, because I guess my, where I was going musically inclined wise was closer to where Lance Lopez, our singer and guitar player from the first two records, were coming from. With Chris, we have a different thing, and we have a thing going on. It's just still the same band, but there is like a couple of different accents, and I think it would have, and I think it does, because we have a new record. I'm not going to make any announcement or anything like that.
Yeah,
that
you're not going to give me anything, Fab. You need to give me something.
Oh, well, no. There is one. There is one. It's been ready actually for a while now, but we're working with the label now to prepare everything, because we're rebooking tours and all of that for the third time now. So it's just coming out. But I think that now the record is a great representation of what Supersonic Blues Machine is right now. Hence, I had a bunch of songs that were there that I'm like, they're either too funky, too soul, to retro, to that kind of stuff that and it's just like, but this is what I like. So I've been always wanted to do a record, like a solo record, but for one reason or another, or maybe just try to find myself some excuses not to do it.
Not to do it, absolutely.
Because I really don't like that kind of like spotlight attention on that sense. You know, being a producer and a bass player, I always like to work for the team and never really kind of like put my face up front myself. But I kind of like, I found it that sometimes, especially in the last few years, it's fairly necessary to get your voice heard. So I ended up in using those songs, some of the old material, and what I like to refer to as some COVID tunes to create this extravaganza that is the record that you heard. And actually that's just half because I have material for plenty more to come. And that's why it's called volume 1. It doesn't mean that the next one that it comes out is volume 2, okay? Because maybe in the meantime we can do something completely different. It depends. I think that the music of Counterfeit Solstice really reflects lyrics and the music and everything where I'm about now in these days, or where I've been in the last year and a half. And I think it just give it justice to the time. So let's see what happens with the next few months, or next year when we'll get to play more live shows and all of that, and then we'll see what's going on. There's going to be for sure a volume 2, but I cannot predict that to be the second release of Soul Garage.
Yeah, of course. You have so much going on, and I think that you touched on it there. I think it was great that you decided to come out and be in front of the mic, because great songs like this wouldn't be published otherwise, and I guess that everybody, it's got a kind of, for me, the British side of it, the kind of jazz funk side is like Brand New Heavies. It's got that kind of groove and vibe in it.
Oh my God, I love that band. I love that band.
It's kind of got that in it, and it's got the soul bit in it, and you have the introduction of your two vocalists who really just, when they put their threads into it, it just elevates it to another level. And as I say, I think you should just be really proud of it, because I've played it 3 times already.
Oh my God! Thank you. Thank you. Oh, no, of course. I'm incredibly proud of the work done, of everyone, of everyone performance.
I think the thing is that you've got an impressive back catalogue of artists that you've worked for and who have worked with you, and I guess like you say, COVID is maybe put the time for you to be in front and say, now is my time to be the leader of the band, and put your stamp on it, which is brilliant.
Well, it's not. Well, the thing is, it's not, at the end of the day, it's, especially when we started with Supersonic, I always dedicate most of my work to that, meaning the songwriting, the productions, the co-managing and all of that. So in one way, I already had something that was my own output. We didn't really ask to pass permission to anybody to do Supersonic Records. Absolutely not. However, this is a bit different. And the fact that Supersonic is just such a big, it's a big circus, meaning, Chris lives in the UK. Kenny lives very close to me. Everybody else, some of our guys, obviously our ladies, they're living here, and Alex as well. But a bunch of other guys, they're playing with us, whether sidemen or whether guests, are all around the world. So it's not one of those things where you can do like an impromptu on Zoom and just chime the masses out of your living room in the middle of the pandemic. Oh, we're going to do a couple of songs for you. That cannot happen. I mean, it's just logistically impossible for us to happen. And that kind of like almost, like I said, I always wanted to do something like this and everything. And this is actually I think the push that was necessarily, I think the COVID kind of like really gave it like a big push, because they gave me not necessarily the time, because I've always been trapped with time, but kind of like additional engineering the additional sparkle and the energy to be able to do something like that. Kind of like, I don't want to think about what can happen if this damn pandemic is going to go on for 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is. So kind of like just trying to create a totally different reality within the reality. That helped a lot. I mean, I guess it helped a lot with my mental sanity. But like I said, I mean, as far as like for example, just what happened with Supersonic, even though, I mean, like I said, I do all this and everything, the overall idea of starting actually that as a band came from Billy Gibbons. The actual idea to do this and to turn the kind of like performing band that was around us into my solo band actually came from another guitar player, from Robin Ford. We were, with Supersonic, we were headlining the Kalamazoo Blues Festival in Michigan. And that night specifically, Stephen Perkins, fantastic drummer, is one of the founding members of Jane's Addictions and Porno for Pyros. They also played with the Chili Peppers, no doubt, and Nine Inch Nails, and go on and on and on and on. And a dear friend of mine was substituting Kenny Aronoff that night. Kenny had an engagement with John Fogerty that he couldn't get out of it because it's something that was planned, years before. Well, actually, Stephen came around a few days of the tour just to see how we developed the shows and all of that. Obviously, we rehearsed a couple of hours in Los Angeles, and then we ended up playing. Robin is a great driver, educator. It's a very great sort of inspiration when it comes down to music, and he got us to do a bunch of things like solos and all that kind of stuff that we generally don't do live, I mean, at least up to that moment. And at the end of the night, he tells me, "Hey, man, I really like, obviously when you play with Kenny and all of that, and that's the Supersonic Blues machine that everybody knows. But with Alex and with Perkins, the three of you guys, you sound like the Doors but funky. But you should really consider that because it's great. It's a great sound." So as soon as we went back to Los Angeles, I call up Perkins and Alex and I says, "Hey guys, that's what Robin said. How about we jam a few times and see what happens?" So we got a couple of other people involved and we started playing around town with not like playing necessarily original music in the beginning, but playing covers, but rearranged in a way to sound like a band will sound, like if those songs were written by a band that was in California at the end of the 60s, early 70s.
Yes, it's got that vibe to it anyway, you can feel that.
And and we got an incredible response every time that we play. I mean, even though there is a lot of jamming live with these monster players, and that's actually a nature of those bands from back then anyways. I noticed that I do not know how far can I go with the cursing on your show, but
listen, we're open to everything, Fab. Just go for it, don't worry.
Okay, in the state in I would say American English, when a show, especially it's guitar based or keyboards based, like one of those like super intense, like super fusion, techno rock, whatever it is, generally the band refers to the public as being a cock forest because the majority or sausage fest, however you want to call it, right?
Sausage fest is better,
to each his own, right? But this wasn't the case. It's been always like a mixed crowd and everybody's always been dancing and having a good time. And it's not like one of those crowds that you see at, either jazz or fusion shows where everybody's there like this, just waiting for the second and the guitar player messes up, or the keyboard player plays, the jazz chord or whatever it is. This has always been like a very, very fun, like a very 60s, 70s oriented. And that kind of like gave me even more drive and push to kind of like, hey, this would be good. And we started to play some original songs and everything. And since a few things changed in the band, lineup changes and blah, 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 as usual, like it happens in the band, I says, you know what? I'll kind of like take over. I'll do my own coup. I take over, and which actually was running that way anyways before, because I was, as usual, the one providing the song, the rehearsal, and that kind of shit. It's like, I guess it's like my producer's hat always been worn the whole time. And, it was like a natural evolution. To be honest with you, I was never really considering of being a singer myself. And I actually don't consider singing myself. I just do it out of necessities. But I've been diagnosed with a vocal cord condition when I was 17. And basically I was either facing the dilemma of getting a surgery and taking a chance of possibly losing my voice forever, Back then, obviously, medicine and technology were not
It's
as
not,
they are
yeah,
today,
absolutely.
as they are today. And or just kind of like continue on with my own life and, don't get crazy ideas behind the
Take your
microphone,
path,
which
yeah,
is what I did.
absolutely.
And my only thing back then is just basically I quit smoking. um, as you know, in Europe, obviously, people smoke younger and everybody smoked back then.
Yeah,
But maybe not you, but majority of my friends, I think, can relate to this. So I gave up cigarettes and all of it. And I never really, sure, I was doing a couple of BVs here and there, but never really tried to do anything. But I guess necessities throughout the last 10 years or so, where I got more involved in songwritings and then of course Supersonic and a bunch of other production that required my writing. I ended up in kind
yeah,
of like laying down melodies and uh, lines, lyrics, and all of that for the songs, and they started to take a shape to a point where once again, my wife and Billy this time again, it was asking me, why don't you sing your own stuff? Because I always have, I need to find a good singer for this, and I have to find a good singer. It's like, dude, I mean, we heard the demos, that sounds
yeah.
great.
Do it on
I
your own.
didn't
Yeah,
I didn't think back then, because I wasn't never really, considering that. I always did that, with, like I always do it. Like I prepare a song and maybe I sing the melody or what I think
yeah.
it should be the melody and all of it. But knowing that then the real singer is going to come in and do the job,
Do the
right?
job. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's probably, I guess, why a lot of people got taken positively about it, because I wasn't trying too hard. It was just like,
It's
okay, that's the
natural.
song. I'm
Yeah,
just, and and obviously, let me tell you, it's kind of a struggle for me because I never really did that. And so now having to do that and do everything else that they do when we perform live and play too on top of it,
yeah.
it ain't that easy. I mean, it's plenty of people that does it, but I'm not Geddy Lee and I'm not Jack Bruce. I'm not any one of those cats. I actually have to figure out a few ways. Like I said, I'm just learning, you know, now definitely I'm not a spring chicken, I'm learning now how to do all this, but actually it's cool because it's a good challenging and so far so good. So,
Yeah, I think the thing
we'll
is
see.
though, Fab, I think it pushes you to be a better musician if that's possible. It pushes you to test yourself. As people have said, you sing anyway, but I guess with you're the master of your own destiny. You have your own machine. You have the workings of it, and you're now the orchestrator at the front. And you can tell that with the singing. It's like
Yeah.
a seasoned journeyman, like you've said, who's smoked probably for 100 years, and then you've came out and just said, "I'm going to do this," and it shows on the record. It sounds fantastic. It sounds like a
Thank you.
it sounds like you're in a jazz club, a smoke-filled jazz club, and the 4 or 5 or 6 you get on stage, and it's like, wow, this is incredible. And I guess
Oh,
that's what it is. You taking the chance on your own. You've done your thing, and it's paid massive dividends. It's just an incredible record. It's got lots of feeling in it, and I guess that's what comes from the writing and the melodies and the harmonies. It's just got lots of feeling in it where you can relate to the songs, because I'm a great listener. I listen to this and wow, I can feel that. Or I can feel that, and I think it's just fantastic. And
thank you.
absolutely, 'cause, the thing for me as a reviewer is that blues and soul and jazz are now making a huge splash in Britain. And obviously, Chris will tell you that as well. That's the genre that's now coming through. Lots of jazz. Troy Redfern, a slight blues slide guitarist, just insane off the chart. He's coming through. Bands like When Rivers Meet, blues, blues funk that's coming through. King, good old Glasgow boys, good old Glasgow
Hmm.
boys, and this seems to be the new genre,
Well,
blues.
and even
You
if you
know,
look at what's going on for us here in the States, I mean, now everything falls under the Americana denomination. I think
yeah,
up to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, for me, Americana was anything that was like left of country. meaning
Yes.
this country,
Yeah.
which is like the centrist kind of like American music dimensions. And then there was this whole thing that it's all rootsy music, from the folk, from the Appalachian, to anything that's some sort of like from Johnny Cash to Government Mule to, Linda Ronstadt to,
Yeah. You've
I
got.
mean, plenty. Now there's like plenty of names that are, it's like people even like Loretta Lynn and stuff like that. They were like a country, but till a point those, like, they were really to Americana profit to, again, in the last 10 years where everything changed. So basically now everything that it's made in the in the United States, it's Americana. Obviously let's play with guitars, I think that's some sort of like strings to it. And you're right. I mean, to be honest with you, I think we relate with this with the Soul Garage experience. I relate more to contemporary artists like Black Pumas or Fantastic Negreto, Vintage Trouble, Gary Clark Jr.
Yeah, these guys are just fantastic.
It's because it's very. I mean, actually, it's the natural evolutions of what's going on. The funny thing is, like, for me, is like personally, I'm definitely older than several of these guys that I mentioned, and I kind of like I live this as a music evolution from back when I started playing. But the thing is, like, the original message and the original recipe and the influence was always the same, because at the end of the day, it all came from the blues, no matter what. And whether you go traditional or whether you go like off the moon, like off the chart completely somewhere else, you have to still understand where's that coming from. So now, I mean, I incredibly love those old record, like very basic, like old school, like John Lee Hooker type of stuff, and Elmer James and Freddie King and all of that. Those fantastic records. I wish, could play that. But to be honest with you, all that too, not only the way you play, but the way you carry yourself on that kind of music and everything has to do a lot with your upbringing and the culture in which you've been raised. And let's be honest, I'm a black dude from Mississippi. I mean, and I don't make it, and I'm not saying this in terms of like being an advantage or a disadvantage. It's just a reality. I was born in Italy. And even though I was surrounded by a bunch of music back then that I necessarily didn't relate much, I think I relate more to that now that I'm older, and I get to appreciate, especially the stuff from the 50s and the 60s and the early 70s. Then everything went to the shitter for 20 years or so. But in the 60s, Italian music, and in the 50s, it was phenomenal. Orchestrations like up to, there was just beautiful stuff. But when I grew up, the music that was playing on the radio was not rock and roll. Italy's never been a rock and roll country. But funny enough, there was plenty of R&B and plenty of funk and plenty of soul. So you could have easily listened to James Brown, to Earth, Wind and Fire, to Diana Ross and the Supremes, and all that kind of stuff, which were, if you think about it, now is insane. They were not playing Iron Maiden. They were not playing Deep Purple. They were not playing AC/DC. They were not playing any of that, but they were playing these other things that at some point, if we wanted to, they were even more extreme. If you think about it, where they were coming from and the reality in which a lot of these artists grew up with. So Soul Garage experience, at the end of the day, just like Supersonic Blues Machine, it's we're taking the blues and we're going to space with it. Thanks for the lessons. We're not trying to emulate. But basically, this is a very humble tribute to the greats that started this whole movement. And to be honest with you, it's my take. And that's the only way that I can do these things. I mean, I'm not an educated musician. I didn't go to the proper musicians
absolutely,
or anything like that. It was a different time. And actually, I got majorly discouraged and pushed away from studies by a very, very, very bad teacher. My 16, I joined the conservatory in Milan for upright bass. And I had this teacher that was, I mean, I don't wish ill to anybody, but if I had to start with someone,
he was it.
So definitely one of on the top positions, and that's why I'm very, very involved now with school, with educations and all of that, because I know how
hard it is,
how much of a difference that can make when you have a great and inspiring teacher. So what I'm saying is, like, I'm not music culturated. I play what I hear and all of that and what I like, and I always had this kind of like, I couldn't care less about learning 500 songs to go out and jam every night on something different. I mean, I have colleagues of mine that at some level I envy, that they have this part of their
brain that's wired.
To remember all of this. Me, I don't. Plus, I'm a producer. I'm a label consultant. I'm developing a bunch of different things. I'm always involved with writing and all of that. Dude, technically, I don't really have the space for all of that. I mean, when I'm dealing like with 2 or 3 artists at the same time, 9 songs, that you do not only have to learn the songs, but you have to create arrangements, make sure of the lyrics and the mixes and all of that. It's constantly. So to be honest with you, well, let me know what you want to play tonight. Don't worry about it. I'll show up and I'll be prepared. But don't ask me to come up on the spot. Hey, how that Steely Dan song, that says, who knows? I don't know. I have no idea. Sure, I probably heard the song a few times, but that doesn't mean, I didn't spend. And actually, I spent always my time when I was even jamming onto records when I started playing, not really to take down things note by note, but kind of like learning how to do what they were doing. But at the same time, once I knew the song, I was already kind of like playing in my own way. And it was that, especially with the first band that I really got to play and jam on it, which was Black Sabbath, of all things. And well, then again, you're getting a monster bass player from there that actually it's, has always been one of my inspirations when it comes to that. But everybody has to follow. Kind of like these are people that took on their lessons and they develop in their own way as well. If you think about it, none of these people, even though they study music coming from a very specific boundary of where this is the way you have to do it. And they were the guys at the beginning, they were original. So they got to write the history of all this. So I'm always being into that. And even with Soul Garage, you know this in the beginning, hey, there is this and there is that. And, you got soul, there's funk, there is rock, there's blues. Yeah, but you know what? That's me. And bands that I always loved over all the no, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of artists, special solo artists that means a lot to me, and that especially with the songwriters, people like from Marvin Gaye, and my favorite of all time, that was my first love musically wise, was Bob Marley and Santana and all of that. That sure they have their own thing. However, I would say when I make a reference to a band, meaning like not a main figure and a bunch of great, but still sidemen. I'm talking about a common efforts and stuff like that. The bands that I always liked the most were the most eclectic one. I mean, look at the Beatles. I mean, I love everything the Beatles did. However, from Sgt. Pepper on, they were my favorite. And to be honest with you, those records were like acid records. They were like, for back then, they were like, absolutely. What are these people are doing, and the same thing for Queen. I mean, they will go from like a song that would sound like a 20s foxtrot to a screaming hard rock thing, and everything would make sense. And then again, similar bands like that, obviously, Pink Floyd, or the band of another dear friend of mine, Toto. I mean, all those bands, Earth, Wind and Fire. I mean, they take on, sure, this is the bass, but then we can go here and try to sound the same. Another band that I really love, that I've been following from their beginning, is U2. And U2, the same. It's just like, I think more than anybody else, have this particularity where every record sound technologically advanced and different than anything else that is on the market, but they still sound like the band from Joshua Tree. That's phenomenal. I don't know how they're able to pull that off, but I think if there is something that I'm really after, it's that. It's not the mega. It's not the mega sounding record mixed at the most expensive studio on the planet and all of that. I kind of like always cherish this lesson from George Martin. When they were asking him about making all those Beatles records on 4 tracks and everything compared to the technology that he had available today, blah, blah, blah. When they were capturing when they did the music for the Cirque du Soleil special, that Music Love, the production, the music production for the Cirque du Soleil, and they did all these remixes and everything like that. And I remember they were asking him, hey, but what about you go back, Beatles, Pro Tools and all of that? And George Martin, candidly, his answer was like, you know what? I always been more concerned about what I was recording than how I was recording. And that for me, it's fundamental, because, and I think the proof of this is just to use my own material as a reference. There are a couple of songs that I'm proud of all the songs that I recorded and we have on the record, but there's like a couple of songs in there that are like really, I think, like highlights of what I do or did I can do. And to be honest with you, those songs really resonates well with people, and seems to be the one that resonates better with people, even in their primordial demo version, which was still me singing and all of that and everything. So I'm considering this is a demo. Me not being a singer, so just getting in front of the mic and do whatever I need to do without knowing the techniques and all of that kind of stuff and everything, and still get that reaction. That means that there is something to it, and that's for me is the proof. Because I mean, if people like that, of course they definitely gonna understand what I'm trying to do here. And that's always been my prerogative as a producer as well. Don't get me wrong. I mean, no, I'm not after bad sounding records, but to be honest with you, I can't care less if we just ended up with the loudest record on the planet, or the cleanest, most sparkly, polite things ever. I don't care. It's just like, how's the song? How's the band? How's the vibe? That's all I care.
I guess for you though, Fab, it's because you're the producer, you're the musician, you're the arranger, you're the consultant. You know, for people to say that's a fantastic song, you sing it really well. You have your producer hat on, your musician hat on, your music consultant, and you think, yeah, maybe these guys have got something, because you've just walked in front of the mic, you've put your song down, and you've put your lyrics on it, and your vocal. People went, that sounds really good. So from that point of view, for you, it's another string to your bow that although you were not necessarily frightened of being the main man, it's worked in your favor. That along with the production and the melodies and the harmonies, the vocals come in and it fits perfectly. It's like a velvet glove. It's an incredible fit for this album.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And to be honest with you, I really did. The funny thing is, like, and I'm not trying to say to be dismissing or anything, it's just like, I really didn't even work that much on it. It's just like it came really natural. That's why I guess it feels good, because it's like it's not something that was really imposed. I know that I will have to work a lot now. Now it's just like, oops. Now I got this thing out. I better keep up with that.
And what's happening now is you've made volume 1. Necessarily might not come volume 2, but the reaction from this, they're then going to have to up your game, Fab. So, you're sitting there and you're going, but you're going to have to up your game for volume 2 or Counterfeit Solstice, Shitbag, whatever it's going to be, or volume 10, you're going to have to up your game. So you're going to have to bring it to the party.
Absolutely. But you know what? To be honest with you, I never been afraid of that. I mean, even with Supersonic, it's not that I only did this, but I mean, I worked with plenty of other artists before on, being a producer, also as a bass player and all of that. But I always have this thing that is kind of like, and I don't mean to talk bad about any, not music colleagues or anything like that. It's just like the situation. No. It's just in terms of like the situation of the actual business of music, where I think the biggest detriment sometimes to what happens in the music scene and to some specific artist or to some shows or to some record, it's not really the artist. It's not really the songs. It's not really anything like that. It's generally the people that are handling it. The marketers, the record companies and all of that can, within 5 seconds, fuck it up and sink it like there is no tomorrow. And there you go, like a lifetime worth of work and efforts and stuff just completely either shelved or not given the importance that there is. To me, if I know I'm given the opportunity to do a second record, I'm going to kick your ass more than what I did with the first one. The problem for me, it's not be able to do better than what I did earlier, is will we have the opportunity we will get an opportunity to do that. Because if we get the opportunity, don't worry about me, man. I mean, just wear a double diaper and we'll take care of it.
The shit's getting kicked out of you. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
But that's unfortunately seems to be the problem that all my colleagues and friends and musicians, whether professional or weekend warriors or whatever it is, seems to grasp and have to deal with. It's not them, it's not their music, it's not their friends, it's not their fans, but it's their situation in which they're in that sometimes don't allow them to present their music the way it needs to be presented, you know. Absolutely. And that's why I ended up in doing this thing by myself. This is the first release of my label, Soul Garage Experience Recordings. I have a bunch of different things that are going to be coming out this way, and we did this. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're still using publicists, we're still using radio promoters and all of that, but I ain't let anybody in a suit in an office telling me that I can release my record next week or in 2 years from now because they have a bunch of other records that they need to take care. I don't care about the other people. It's not that I don't care about the other people. I care about everybody and everyone well. But when it comes down to my work, this is my work. Why do I have to do? Why do I always have to take a number? I'm sorry. That's I don't mean to jump in front of the line if there is a line established, but if the line is too long and already established, then you know what? I'll start my own line.
Yeah, and do your thing and do it on your own terms, and that's what you want to do. You know, listen, it's been absolutely fascinating chatting to you, Fab. I wish I could talk to you all day, but I know you're a busy man. It's been
Thank you.
Education. It's been fantastic to chat to you. This video will go all over the world. We have about 150,000 subscribers. It goes to America, it goes to Australia, it goes to Europe. You know, and you'll see my you'll see my ugly face on it, and they'll go, "Fuck, there's a big man from Glasgow," you know. But you know, I think this is about getting Fabrizio Grossi out there. You know, for people to understand that this is a fantastic, phenomenal record that's going to do extremely well. And I thank you for bringing it to our attention.
So you're hired. Let me know where I need to send a check.
Hey, I'll fly to LA, no problem, Fab, and we can work it out.
That would be great. That would be great. Well, no, listen, thanks again for the support and for all the kind words. I like the fact that the message is getting assimilated and absorbed. If I may, a quick plug for all of you that are listening to this and are getting curious about what we're talking about. Please visit my website, fabriziogrossi.com, or actually, if my name is too complicated for a lot of y'all listening to now, just go to soulgarageexperience.com. It's the same thing. We'll take you to my main page, and over there you can navigate to Spotify, you can go to YouTube, you can go to Facebook, you can go to Instagram. Please follow, like, send questions, interact with me. I love to hear from you guys. Not only me, everybody else, because when we bring this thing up on the road around the world, we want to know that we're just going to be making a lot of people happy, not only playing the music that we like, but the music that everybody else likes. So once again, soulgarageexperience.com. And from there, just, you know, enter our world, follow, likes us and stuff. And two, if you have time and you want to check out my other band, at supersonicbluesmachine.com as well. And from there on, you will have everything.
Yeah, shameless plugging, Fab, but you know, it's welcome on this. It's welcome on my show. You can plug away. But what's the chances you think of getting to Britain?
Chances? No, that's a given. It's not a chance. Oh yes, with both outfits. 2022, man. 2022. Brilliant. You better be there.
I hope listen, when you come across, I'll be there at the front. We'll have a chat, we'll have some beer, we'll put the world to rights. We'll talk about Fabrizio Grossi, Soul Garage Experience, the volume 2 or volume 10, whenever it happens to be. And I will keep supporting you, my brother, and we'll take it as far as we can. And we'll get you noticed in Britain. That's for sure.
Well, thank you so much. Much appreciated. And thank you all for listening. And just one more thing for everybody out there, be kind to each other. That's all I have to say.
This is Darren from J-Speedia in conversation with the fantastic Fabrizio Grossi, chatting all things music, lockdown, blues, jazz, soul and funk, and coming to Glasgow to start his world tour. Don't go anywhere else, Fab. Come to Glasgow, start the world tour, and then you can piss off back to wherever you want to go. But come to Glasgow first. We'll have a good time, some beers, and we'll put the world to rights.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, my brother. Ciao. Take care.
Bye-bye.